to this day, like I've failed in sport, I've had family issues, like had moments outside of a relationship that have been really hard. And I would still say that heartbreak is the most painful thing you can feel. Have someone just so connected to you and be so connected to them and just like share life with them and then not be there. Yeah, that's a really like fucked up feeling.
Olympic boxer, author of The Good Fight, and a man that is unapologetically himself, expressing all the highs and being vulnerable in the lows. Our guest today is Harry Garside.
I feel like my manhood got questioned a lot when I was younger. I'm the youngest of three boys, quite soft by nature. Like I'd always cry more often. I'd be smaller because I was the youngest. I think I started boxing purely to prove I was a man. Like what do you see men do on movies? They fight. That's just what men do.
How can we expect to have the same passion and excitement about a particular thing that we did as a kid when we've been exposed to so many more other things?
I remember sitting in quarantine after Tokyo, bronze medal on, and I'm looking in the mirror and I still felt really unhappy with the person who looked back. And I'm like, no gold medal, no money, no validation, no attention, nothing outside of yourself can change how you feel about yourself.
When you had that in your mind before even competing at the Paris Olympics, it made you show up differently?
I've never said that publicly, but I just felt there was...
Harry, welcome to the show, mate.
Mate, honoured to be here. Thanks for having me.
Mate, you did a 7-day water fast a couple of weeks ago. Why?
I do these uncomfortable challenge. So I think that was, if I remember correctly, I think it was 71. So 71 months in a row, almost 6 years. And yeah, it was, I've always wanted to do, or not always, for the last maybe 5 years, I've wanted to do it. And I've just continuously like found reasons not to do it. And I finally just like no boxing, no sport coming up. I was like, this is the perfect time. I genuinely thought it was going to be like probably one of my hardest ones. And it turned out to be one of the best. Just the clarity of mind, the peace I felt, like I'm such a ruminator and I've got a really active brain and I just felt my brain was so peaceful. Like I enjoyed my own company more than any other time in my life in that 7-day fast. I couldn't train, which I found quite hard, but then at the same time, like I was so peaceful that I didn't really feel the impacts of it.
Why do you do the uncomfortable challenge? And you've been doing it for nearly 6 years.
Yeah, I originally started, so I did this program with the Commander Regiment, the Australian Army, and some past Olympic gold medalists. And it was just after like the 2018 Com Games, had some great success. And then I was just like, let's go for Tokyo Olympics. Like I really wanted to win a gold medal. And the biggest thing I took from the 3-day thing I did with the Commando Regiment was go to the places you feel most uncomfortable if you want to grow. You want to be good as an athlete, go to the place you feel most uncomfortable. And I just it started small. Like the first one I think was like having a really honest, it was quite hard, but having a really honest and deep conversation with a family member about something that was like really like I was holding on to. I think the second one was like telling someone something I've never told anyone before. And then it's just grown and evolved. And like some of the ones that like the 7-day fast, as you just mentioned, I did this like month of torture, which was like 100 Ks on the sand, an Ironman, a half Ironman, another triathlon, and then this other big run all in the space of a month was just like ruining my body. Some have been physical, some have been emotional, some have been really like deep and hard and like, oh, that was just like a big challenge. And then other have been fun and funny. Like I did a baby talk one where it was just like stupid, very stupid, but it was a lot of fun too, right? And each one I've just learned something from.
Yeah. We were talking about it off air before, but you were just saying about how important it is and how much we always just want to have something that challenges us in our life. How you just want to always have a challenge in your life, something to always be pushing towards, always be, nothing too easy. You don't want life to be smooth sailing.
Yeah, I think it's like a blessing and a curse right inside myself to, like I've felt the highest of highs or like the feeling of winning and the elation of like standing on a podium of being in your home city of the, like in the Gold Coast and winning a gold medal and standing there with the national anthem and your family and friends, like the elation, also being in love or like, like that feeling being around your friends and just like gut laughing, like the feelings of that, but then also feeling the lows like of suffering, pain, loss, grief, shame, guilt. Like I feel like life for me when I'm not experiencing those is quite boring. So I feel like there's a lot of my life, as I said, it's a bit of a blessing and a curse, but if I find myself in the middle, like I just find it quite, as I said, quite boring, which is like something I'm trying to navigate because I realize I want kids one day and I think a bit more stability would be really helpful for kids, maybe. Yeah.
That's what Tim Hanley actually said on the podcast that I had with him. He said he was in this state of just wanting to constantly be this underdog, be put in shit, so he has to figure out a way to get out of it. And then he had his daughter and he realized, oh shit, it's more than me now. And he needed to kind of come at peace with, you know, having a bit more stability in mind, because he's like, I could just fucking lose it all and sleep on the street. I don't really care. But then when he's got the daughter, he kind of has this new insight and this new thing about like what actually matters in life. Is that what you're sort of thinking? You're going, okay, if I eventually want to be in that state, I kind of probably should try and practice some habits to be ready for that?
Yeah, I think it's just like the ultimate responsibility. I think there's like this quote that I've got in my notes somewhere. It's like, we all bow our knee to something bigger than ourselves. And for so long of our history, it was like a religion or a god. And Western civilization has broke away from that. So I think for me, it would probably, I haven't found it yet, but for me, I think it would be like having a family and bowing my knee and honoring my family. And like, you know, like my kids, I hope I have like some kids and they're healthy and happy and just like, you know, like doing some really cool things that they're passionate about. And I think when that time comes, it will just be a lot more like I'll take a step back, and I actually can't wait for that. My whole life has been very selfish and narcissistic and just like self-centered. It has to work this way. Like this is how I get success, and you know, getting a lot of opportunities, meeting a lot of amazing people, and it's been like a whole big roller coaster that I've genuinely enjoyed. But then at the same time, like when I have kids, I don't want my life to be like that. I want it to be more like I'm honoring them and giving them an opportunity and like just supporting them when they're in the mud and, you know, like they're learning their own lessons, but I'm just there like go, like I'm their biggest cheerleader. And I can't wait for that. I think I'm still a few years off, but yeah, I think it's like a lot of people can't have kids in this world. And I think Ben Crow says it. It's like life's biggest truism is life isn't about us as individuals. It's about the impact we can have on others. And I think most people will realize that when they have kids. Yeah.
You mentioned the word narcissistic. You said that your life has been very narcissistic. That's quite a negative term for a lot of people to view. I mean, look, I think in business, you need to have a level of narcissism about you. You can't just be too altruistic. When you refer to your life being quite narcissistic, do you think that's all a bad thing, or do you think it's quite a good thing and it's got you to where you are today?
Oh, yeah, I think it's like so many people are throwing that word around so much, right? But I think you think about the most successful business people, Steve Jobs, you know, like these people who are like, they had an element of like, maybe they weren't full-blown narcissists, but they had absolutely narcissistic tendencies. The most successful athletes, these Kelly Slaters, Serena Williams, like, you know, anyone you can sort of think of, it's like if you delve into their life, they would have, I would argue for sure that most of them would have those personality traits. And I think it's those people who refuse to stand in line or like, you know, follow the person in front of them. They're just like, if everyone's going left, I'm going right. They're the ones who make change. They're the ones that we talk about in history. They're the ones that we talk about or think about when we're want inspire or direction or, you know, I don't know. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think absolutely people can be evil. But I think if you delved into that even more, from what I've realized in my life, it's like those people are just like hurt, you know, or just like wanting something or needing something or like something that they were lacking in their childhood or I think it is also the onus. You can't just like go, oh, like, no, like, don't worry. They just like need something. It's like they're adults as well. Sometimes the onus needs to be on them and like you need to realize that yourself. But I think a lot of the time, some of those people just need like I feel for someone like a Kelly Slater. Like he was deep into his like 40s or 50s and he was still surfing and trying to win world titles and stuff like that. And it's like, surely he's like conquered the mountain of like trying to prove himself. Like you're one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time, and you're still trying to prove yourself. I don't know. I feel sorry for people like that. I genuinely do. Like I don't think he's conquered the mountain of what he was trying to do when he was 8, 9, 10, you know?
Yeah, it's much deeper than that, I think. And it's wide inside of you. People don't become billionaires by fluke and by being normal. Like they've got some crazy delusion and crazy tendencies about them that makes them want to go through enough pain to get to that. I don't know. It's a rare breed. But I also think why people are inspired by that and why the people that go left when everyone else goes right are the ones that people talk about is because I feel like there's so many people that want to do it, but they never have the courage to actually do it.
What's that? I think it's Alex Hormozy says like people support you on the way up because you remind them of their dreams, and they trash you when you're on the top because you remind them that they gave up on theirs.
Yeah, it's like when you're on your way up, they cheer for you because you remind them of their dreams, and then when you're at the top, they tear you down because you remind them that they didn't try.
Yeah. It's such a powerful thing, and I just I have like I try my best to sort of have compassion. Like I've done a number of things in my life that people have had an opinion on, and you scroll through comments sometimes. I've definitely sort of broke away from scrolling through comments, which is really nice. But like absolutely, when I first started coming into a bit of fame, I was scrolling through the comments and I take it all personally. Right, someone's like trashing you, like hey, fuck you, I start writing back a comment. But I've got past the point of like those people potentially maybe it's just a projection of where they're not free in their own life, and I try my best to have a bit more compassion of like, fuck, like maybe that person like happened today. So I was riding a scooter and I live in Bondi, and it's just everyone's always like fast paced, right? And I don't think I cut this guy off, but like he was like come past me and he's pointing at me and I'm like, are you all good? Like obviously he's just stressed and so caught up. It's a Friday, everyone's going to Christmas, the traffic's like this. I was like, man, just have like a breath, brother. Like it's all good. Like we're all good. We're living in the beautiful country. Sun's out. Like everything's fine.
Beautiful day in Bondi.
Yeah, just enjoy it. But it's just like I could just see how tense he was, right? And I felt for him in that moment. Yeah.
I felt for when you spoke about Kelly Slater before, and you're talking about people that keep going. I love that frame of I kind of feel for them because there's something in them that still feels like their job's not done, but then you also look at the fulfillment piece in life, and this is what's interesting. And I think the reason why sometimes people can slow down a little bit more when they have kids is because they've been able to replace that fulfillment piece with their kids. Whereas like when you don't have kids and you've got a lot of money, it doesn't mean that you're fulfilled, because like you can't just sit on an island all day and be fulfilled. And so they always get this drive and you always want something more. And it's the same with, when you stop doing things in your life, and you just sit there and you go, okay, well, what's next? Because what's life actually about? Like,
we're on a spinning rock in the middle of nowhere. And I find that sometimes it's like, it feels so meaningless, especially because I don't have kids. Like it feels quite meaningless. But then at the same time, like as I said, maybe I'm wrong about Kelly Slater. Maybe he's genuinely just loves to surf. And I think he probably would, right? He loves to surf. He would probably feel quite nostalgic. He would have all these feelings of joy. This is all like an assumption, but like he would have good feelings when he's surfing, but it still seemed to me that he was trying to prove something, right? And it's just, I don't know, I just think like he's experienced 1% of what the earth has to offer through surfing. 1%. The earth is a big place. He could meditate, he could be a tradie, he could be a chef, he could, and I don't know, like I can only turn this back to myself, but I've loved, I'm still doing it, like every aspect of my boxing career, the highs, the lows, the struggles. But I also am aware that that's just like 1% of what this earth has to offer. Like there's so much more I could do, so much more.
What does that make you think? Because if you're in that lens of going, I realize there's so much more, do you get desires to try more stuff or to hone in on what you already know you're good at and become better at that one thing?
Oh, I think it's quite fleeting. I think it's both. Yeah, I think it's both. I think there's something inside of myself that's like, there's so many options, especially because of the safety and comfortability we have in Australia of, I guess, having so much, like we have, most of our problems are quite taken care of, right? Like we're very safe but in that it's quite paralyzing. You got too many options that you don't make any option at all. So I've definitely felt that in my life. But then at the same time, like I really enjoy boxing, and until like I failed at the Tokyo Olympics. I failed at the Paris Olympics, and I said to myself, I refuse to go to a boxing gym until there's like a young kid inside myself just like hungry and wanting to go there, just like I was when I was a kid. I remember like my parents like had no money and like they would always be on the piss or like, and I would ask them, I'd be like, is it right if you give us a lift? I was like 11, 12. I was like, give me a lift to the boxing gym. I'm like, oh no, it's not open tonight. You'll be fine. I'm like, I get my bag and I just go to the bus stop myself. I'm like, well, I'm going there because I want to be there, right? And I lost that for a period of time. And I'm really grateful that I said that to myself. Let's not go to a boxing gym until you get that calling back. And throughout that 3 months, I'm thinking, fuck, I might never go back. Like, it's like my boxing might be over. And I had to accept that. Like, and then 3 months went by and I was like, let's go. Like there was that hunger, that passion, that desire to get back into a boxing gym and move my body the way we're supposed to as an animal. And I just am really grateful that I've got that back. Like I could quite happily never box again, but I'm just grateful I've got that passion back. Yeah, it's nice.
So you think that the young kid in you is the kid that carries this passion for the things that you're doing, gets you excited about the stuff, and do you feel like it became more work than passion, and that's what took away from it? Or what do you think was the thing? Was it too much pressure on yourself? What was the thing that made you build up this, not lack of love for the sport, but just not as much passion and excitement about the thing that you were doing?
Oh, I think there's a number of things. Like I don't fully know the answer, but I think it would be a number of things. I think I had my finger in so many different pies. Some other things that I was finding really passionate outside of boxing, like I was really enjoying doing like media stuff, or I was really enjoying like philosophy or history. Like I was really enjoying like delving into my thoughts more often, right? And I think when you start having a lot more attention to other things, like I was so laser focused on one thing when I was boxing, and I think you can do both, but I think there is a sacrifice, right? I think if you want to be the best in the world at something, it's like you almost have to be quite obsessed. Like it's like there's one thing, maybe your family's there as well, but like this is it.
Yeah.
You know?
And I guess you also don't know anything else when you're a kid, hence why you can be obsessed. And then this is the same with friends, right? Like when you're in school, the people around you are all you know. So, and then you leave school and you realize that so many of those friends from school start dropping off because you get into the real world and go, oh shit, there's actually all these other people that I resonate with so much more.
Yeah.
And then you grow as a person even more, and then you resonate with more different friends, and then those ones you met outside of school drop off, and then it kind of keeps going up in this path. But how can we expect to have the same passion and excitement about a particular thing that we did as a kid when we've been exposed to so many more other things?
Yeah, I think as well, like for me, I'm pretty self-aware, and I just think there was a lot of subconscious things driving my desire to box. Like I feel like my manhood got questioned a lot when I was younger. I'm a youngest of three boys, quite soft by nature. Like I'd always cry more often. I'd be smaller because I was the youngest, and just sort of got pushed around a little bit, or like couldn't do the things that they were doing because to me, they were like fearless, my brothers. And I think I started boxing purely to prove I was a man. Like, what do you see men do on movies? They fight, or like that's just what men do. And I fell in love with the sport, but there was a lot of like negative things, like wanting that like manhood, that identity. Boxing gave me that. Wanting to get my parents' attention. There's a lot of like, I guess, more negative drivers that have drove me. And I think throughout the journey, and the reason why I think I lost the passion for a bit was like I started realizing, like I remember sitting in quarantine after Tokyo, bronze medal on, and I'm looking in the mirror and I still felt really unhappy with the person who looked back. And I'm like, I think it planted a little seed in my head, just realizing that like no gold medal, no money, no validation, no attention, nothing outside of yourself can change how you feel about yourself. And don't get me wrong, I'm still living a life where I'm very much still loving the validation or loving the attention. Like I'm still at times like a very insecure little boy. But for the most part, it's just like, I think for me, I get my like self-worth and self-respect when I honor my word, or when I'm kind to someone in public, or when my brother calls me and asks for like a chop out, like I give him a hand. Like that's where I build my self-worth. And I think my whole life was just focused on like a gold medal was going to change this. And it's like I got a success. Like I did something I wasn't supposed to do at Tokyo, and I still felt unhappy. Yeah. And I thought that was like, I think it was like a little something, it planted something in my head, just realizing nothing outside of me can change me.
That's fascinating. And you wrote in a post, if you guys are a regular listener of the Pocket Podcast, you would know that I absolutely love Switch Nutrition and all of their products, and I've been promoting them since the very, very start. And my love for Switch Nutrition has just gone to the next level with their brand new product, Sleep Plus. This is a designated sleep formula. It is made to help wind you down, calm the central nervous system down, get you into a more restful state so you can fall into that deep and REM sleep sooner into bed, resulting in a more restful and meaningful sleep so you can wake up ready to attack the next day's activities. I've been loving this thing. There is the tropical flavor, which I love, with a bit of ice and some cold water, or if I'm feeling like a hot chocolate, I'll have the chocolate flavor. overall, it's amazing and you'll get results. And it's been going crazy all around the internet and online now with their amazing reviews all across the globe. So if you guys want to try out Switch Nutrition, you can go to the link in the description or the show notes below, and you can use code Chris Griffin and you'll get 15% off your entire order. Alternatively, go to switchnutrition.com.au and use code Chris Griffin for 15% off your entire order. And you can try out the Sleep Plus alongside all of their other amazing products. They will not disappoint. But let's get right back to the episode. That's fascinating. And you wrote in a post on the 12th of September, and it was a post that would have been after the Olympics this year. But you wrote, "As the man I am today, I've come to realize that while goals and ambitions are a crucial part of my being, the accumulation of those goals are not the reason why I set them. I chase things as hard as I can because each time I do, I shed my skin and grow into a bigger and better version of myself. I know the world celebrates victors, and rightly so. It's incredible to do unthinkable and great things in the world. One thing I'm trying to teach to that little boy inside myself is that the best thing about the whole human experience is continuously putting yourself in situations where you have to grow and get better. The journey to achieving an Olympic gold medal was a vehicle from which I grew into a way better version of myself. And I've realized that in this process, it became a thing that drove me rather than the thing that defined me."
Yeah, I just think that, like, and I never want someone to listen to this or like think that like, oh, just don't set that goal then. It's like, no. Set the goal. Set the big goal.
Yeah.
Like, bigger.
Bigger.
Yeah, bigger. And like set it. And like and like genuinely put all of yourself into it. Like try and achieve it with all your heart. Like, you know, because you hate yourself. I've definitely had a moment in my life where like I, you know, didn't fully give it all of me. Right. And it's like that feeling of just like you fail, but then you also have the failure of like, you know, like I know I could have done more. That's a shit feeling, the worst. Like give all yourself, and win, lose or draw. If you succeed, if you don't succeed, it's like where you end up is a lot further along than what you thought it would be.
After writing that and going through different things like looking at yourself in the mirror and realizing that the medal didn't actually make you feel any better, is there any insights that you've made from that, or is there any different changes in outlook on life or different ways you're driven, or is anything changed from having that realization, do you know? Or
it's still quite fresh. So I think obviously Tokyo quarantine was 2021, so that was a while ago, but it planted a little seed. And I think post Paris this year, like I really think I'm just having a few more realizations, but I think I'm like in a bit of no man's land at the moment, just still trying to find this like passion, desire, hunger. Like, you know how easy it is to like wake up and feel like, know the direction you're walking in and think that that's going to be your savior. Like I can move mountains because I thought that was going to be the thing that was going to save me. And like, I'm in a moment now where I'm like, I'm trying to find the thing that's motivating me and like keeping me going, while also knowing that like the accumulation of that isn't, you know, I'm in like this period where I'm like, I don't really know. Like I know that a new car or $1 million or a nice house, like I know that won't change how I feel about myself. But then it's like, how do I then feel motivated to do those things? You know, like I'm balancing that and I haven't got an answer for you. Yeah.
Quite a challenge, would you say?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because it was easy. It was really easy to be ignorant and to run a pattern throughout my teenage years and then throughout my early 20s. Like it was really easy to like run that pattern of thinking, well, I've done the Commonwealth Games gold medal. Well, maybe when I get the Olympic gold medal, then I'll feel different, you know? And then I get the bronze medal. I think, well, maybe I didn't get the gold. Maybe then I'll feel different. And it's like, I don't know. I knew before Paris. It's like, I knew that even if I won it, I think I would have felt, and I rode the wave and it would have been amazing. We'd got validated taps on the ass. And then I'd go back to my room and I'd just be fucking lonely. And I knew that. And I think I don't know. I'm just really struggling to find that. Have you heard of the carrot and the stick? It's like you hit a horse with a stick and it just goes boom to try and get away from the stick and achieve something. It's got all this motivation to get away from the stick. It has to get away from it. And then it gets here and it's like it forgets that it got hit by a stick and it starts moving, it starts self-sabotaging, it starts ruining things, it starts being undisciplined, and then it starts feeling really flat and it gets hit by the stick again. And someone said to me, you need to find a carrot, put a carrot in front of your head and you run forever. How the fuck do you find the carrot? Like I want to find the carrot and I just haven't got it yet. I think it might be self-discovery, self-growth, trying to like Ned Brockman for me is like someone who just like is living to his potential and like showing the human potential and just like seeing how far his body can take. And I think maybe there's something in that, but I just haven't found my answer yet.
It's a challenging thing, using that naivety when you're young, not knowing how the goal is going to make you feel, makes it easier to strive towards the goal because that mystery is the exciting part. Do you think when you had that in your mind before even competing at the Paris Olympics, it made you show up differently than the Tokyo Olympics? For
sure. And I've never said that publicly, but I just felt there was, and I was justifying it in my head. My mind's a beautiful thing. And I think we have the ability to almost justify everything, anything we do. Like I always think about these people who like work in these wild jobs where like, let's say military and they're dropping a drone or like dropping a bomb on, they're sitting in an office and I'm like, they could justify it in their head. Like humans are amazing. We can justify things. And I think I wasn't as like disciplined or like as intense as I was before Tokyo in the Paris prep. Like I was justifying in my head going, this is the difference between bronze and gold. I was holding on too tight. And I was like doing media things or I was doing like photo shoots and I wouldn't have done that. I was like allowing people in like, and I never usually do that. I was like a solid man. Like I was like before other events prior to Tokyo, like if like I had a partner, like I'd pull myself away for a period of time. Like I got to go on this mission. And as I said, I was letting people in before Paris. I was thinking, this is the difference. And then the performance like that, just realizing that's not the difference. That's the difference between a bronze and a failure.
Do you feel like that made the failure way worse? Because what you said at the start was just before this was saying like, if you don't give it everything you've got, then when you fail, you feel like, fuck, I could have done more. Whereas if you emptied the tank and did everything you possibly can, then when you fail, you go, I didn't win, but at least I tried.
Yeah, I'll never, because I'll own everything. Like I'll own that absolutely I could have probably prepared harder or prepared better or been more, like with my approach to it. And I'll own that and go like, I could have, but it's just like, I'll never be that person who like, I could have been this, I could have been that. It's like, no, that's just what you did because you weren't in it. You lost it. And I don't know what it was. And I lost something. I lost a part of me and I'm trying to find it back and I feel glimmers of it right now, which is really nice. But I feel like between Tokyo and Paris, 3 years, what happened, I feel like I lost a piece of myself in like the public recognition and realizing that like, fuck that stuff. Fuck that stuff. And I just, like it's early days for me, but it's just like realizing that like absolutely that like feeds something inside of you. But I never want to be like a 45-year-old lonely guy who's like on the TV who doesn't have a partner or kids, like just realizing where am I going? Where's my North Star right now? And I'm just at early days of just figuring that out. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that you're quite a self-reflective person. I'm resonate with that a lot as well. I am too. You said something on another podcast. You said that I think life would be easier if I was less self-reflective. you said that like being self-reflective and at the severity in which I am makes life a lot harder potentially. Do you think? What are your thoughts on that? And because I listened to that and I went, fuck, that is. Because I sometimes look at people that live such simple lives and I envy it. I go, fuck, that would be somewhat nice at times. And I think the self-awareness and the self-reflection constantly to the next level is a thing that helps me become more unique and push past boundaries and achieve so many great things. But fuck, it definitely makes life more challenging.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It makes me think instantly of like one of my best mates. The reason why I said that on a podcast, I had a conversation with one of my best mates who lives in the same area that we grew up in and he will stay there for the rest of his life. And I've never seen him like cry. I've never seen him too emotional. He's very content, balanced. He wants to live there for the rest of his life. Doesn't think about deep stuff too often. He's just like a simple guy. And I asked him, I was like I'm kind of envious, like, cause I'm so complicated. Like I think about way too much. And then in that, yes, I've created a pretty exceptional life, but then most of the time I don't feel content. Like I'm always searching for the next thing, and I'm like, ignorance is bliss. But then in that, it's like he will stay in Lilydale for the rest of his life, and like he's happy with that, and I'm envious because he's just content. He's content. He likes his existence. He hasn't overcomplicated it.
You know what's interesting though is I challenge it because I envy. My thought comes straight away. I go, I envy that, but then I challenge that thought that I say to myself, because when we think about like what actually matters in life, like I strip it back, and I truly believe it all comes down to connection to ourselves, the relationship we have with ourselves, connection to others, and connection to a purpose, something to strive towards. When you're not self-reflective and you live a really simple life and you don't have as much depth, I feel like to be able to truly feel connection, that will be lacking. And if we talk about from a fulfillment standpoint, like again, tying back into this thing you said before, it's a spinning rock. Like, why don't we give things a crack? I feel like there was someone that said something, I'm going to butcher it, but said something about like, you're the most present when you're like for like a few days before you die or something. And he's talking about how like everything comes out of you then. It's like, fuck, I wish I did this. I wish I did this. I can't believe I didn't do this. Like think about the relationship you're going to have with yourself and the conversation you're going to have with yourself when you're on your deathbed. And I go, we're on a spinning fucking rock. Like, yes, your life's simple. Yes, you're a bit naive. You don't know what else is out there and stuff like this, but you kind of do. Modern day, the social media, you definitely doom scroll. You definitely see people giving all these other things. And I guarantee you have a little thought that goes, oh, imagine if I could live like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I guess like it's almost like for me, listening to that, I completely agree. But it's like for me, it's like almost like a justification for the way that I live. And I look at the reference with my friend, it's almost like I think there is a level of like acceptance and contentment and like ownership of his life and potentially himself. And then in that he doesn't, because I truly believe that not always, but I think more often than not, the people who are the most ambitious are like, they're trying to fill something inside of themselves. Whereas like if you accept yourself and you're so secure in yourself, you don't have that desire for public fame or you don't have that desire for a gold medal as much. I'm not saying never. I'm not saying it's not possible. But I think those people who are secure, they're like, man, I'm happy. Like life's good. I work at a surf shop. I'm, life's good. What do I need to complain about?
What do you think it comes down to then? Like, how do we end up like this, sickos? Like,
I've thought about this. So I think it's upbringing for sure.
Upbringing, what like little things that drive us?
Yeah, I think there's just like moments in time. Some are big, what's that, big T traumas, or there could be even just like small, subtle T traumas of like not getting picked in a team or like, getting dumped by a girl or like, just like moments in time that like shaped us in the right moment at the right time. And I think they like, I look at someone like a Donald Trump and I'm like, I listen to that guy talk and I'm like, he is just a child. And I genuinely feel sorry for him. Like he's in his 80s and he can't break this want to prove himself. Like, he's got his whole life has just been that running the same pattern. He has to get the bigger tower. No, I've got to be president now. I've got to be president twice. Like he's good. Like, and I'm just like, man, I genuinely like, you need some ayahuasca or you need, I don't know. I'm not that it's the savior, but you need something like, and I just think there's moments in time that happen in our childhood, and I can speak for myself. Like I know there was definitely moments in my life where I'm like, I thought that finally they would think that I'm good enough, or like, and it's my parents, but finally then they would look at me and love me and look at me like they looked at Grant Hackett when they watched the TV. Yeah.
Geez, that Hormozy quote, it's so good. He says, I don't know if it's his quote, but I remember Alex Hormozy saying this quote. He said, heroes and villains both come from the same backstory, pain.
Yeah.
He's like, the villain says, the world hurt me, I'm going to hurt everyone else. And then the hero says, the world hurt me, I'm not going to let it hurt anyone else.
Yeah. It's so
Heroes
true.
use pain, villains are used by it.
Yeah.
But when we look at all of the people that have achieved extraordinary things in their life, most of the time it's driven by pain. And they've used the pain as fuel to better their life and not let their life be the problem that they've like that pain in their life or whatever it is, or they've used the fuel to create a life that doesn't involve the pain that they went through in the past. Or there's the people that have been victimized by their pain and they've used that and dwelled in it and done nothing for it, and that's become like their identity and their life. But then there's the people outside of that potentially haven't maybe gone through much pain, haven't really felt a need to prove anyone or anything. And this is when we're talking about this contentment category of people that actually seem to live a simple life and they're fucking pleased about it. And that category of people, I don't envy the people that are victims and that have gone through pain and have just dwelled in it. I envy the people that haven't got anything and they just seem like their mind is actually not a storm at times. like I envy the people that can actually sit down and put a movie on and watch it without thinking about anything else.
Yeah.
That
I feel
sounds
guilty.
great.
I should be doing more. I should be, like can relate 100%. But also as well, like for me, I don't know. I've just got to a position for the most part that I'm just trying to like accept that my mind will never switch off. Like, and I can do little practices, training more often, and I can drink less caffeine, or I can do little things that like make it a little bit more alleviated. But like, this is what I've been given and use it for me. And this, I'm trying to use it. Like my mind is on, I'm piecing together. I guess I'm in a perpetual state, which probably sounds bad, of fight or flight. Like I'm always on lookout, always on guard, can pick up really well on people's tone or like, little things because of my childhood. Like, and I'm just using it. Like, this is what I've been given. I don't believe in a creator, but the universe has given me these, and just don't let it dictate my life, but use it to my advantage. Yeah.
I think that's powerful, having that lens. I also think not boxing, reminding yourself to not box yourself into that this is just me.
Yeah.
Because then when something else happens, which actually could better your life, you have children and you realize that you actually have these certain things and there was a void that you were trying to fill, which is why you're acting that way. And the children happen to void this. But then if you're labeling and boxing yourself as this, then it's like, no, this is just me. I am this and this and this.
Good point.
It's powerful to be able to use that and in a positive way now, but then also have that open mind of going like, things can change, but right now this is it. And I'm playing the cards that I've got.
Yeah.
And I think that's a positive frame.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's a great point. I think it's obviously the personalities, from what I know of you and what I've seen, it's like we both obviously have a personality that we're always like deeply curious about self and about the world, and we're like always a work in progress, right? Like I love my ability. One of the things I love most about myself is like, you could say something right here that challenges one of my core beliefs and I would change my mind. I love that. I change my mind all the time about what I believe about the world, about politics, about left, right. I change my mind all the time. And it's because I hear something that I'm like, ooh, that's good. That's really good. And then I'll explore that for a week, 2 weeks, 5 years, right? And I love that ability. Like I could say one thing on this and then I'll go on a podcast tomorrow because you've said something here. And it'll be different. My answer will be because I love that. It's just exploring my ideas. I'm never locked. I'm never locked in something.
Yeah, I think that's cool. And I think it's powerful to have a presence online to be able to share those. And honestly, what I like about you is how you are open to talk about things like that. And you put different questions that are controversial in your story. And you're just you're letting that curiosity lead the way. And I think there's a lot of respect garnered from doing that because a lot of people aren't willing to do that and be courageous enough to put it out there, because what comes with that can be some hate and negativity.
Have you ever felt like, obviously you got a social media presence too, like, and maybe this is a projection of what's going on inside myself because there's times that I feel lonely, but like just like scrolling through the inbox sometimes you're like, fuck, people are lonely, man. Like the world is lonely. Like people are just wanting people to like talk to or like listen to them. And I'm like breaks my heart. And I remember I was at this breathwork, we were talking about it before we started recording, like this breathwork thing and like just hearing the stories of people, like people are fucking sad, man. People are sad. And there's probably just as much joy and happiness to balance them out in their body. But like the world is just disenfranchised, disconnected. Someone said this to me recently and I haven't stopped thinking about it. It was a couple of weeks ago and I was like, we have Paleolithic minds with medieval institutions and godlike technology. No wonder we're all disenfranchised. And I'm like, oh.
What's the first word?
Paleolithic, which I don't really know what it means, but I think it's more like archaic, like animalistic monkey brain. That's how I see it, yeah.
Yeah. Futuristic technology, just like
godlike technology and medieval institutions that are just like, archaic and just like
evil.
Like these institutions where you sit in a classroom like this, like
malicious intent.
Yeah.
Tie that in with the technology that we have access to. Fuck, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it's such a good thought. And I've just been pondering that for ages. Like, and it's like, I find it really hard because I don't like to complain about things if you don't have a solution. Like you can complain about things all you want, but like, what's the solution? I'm like, well, I'd love to burn the system down. But I'm like, how do you start? It's like this system we have. Yes, it's great. Yes, you can see so many good things in it. It's brought more people out of poverty. It's more people are educated more than ever right now. Like there is a lot of goodness in the system we have, but it's just like there is also, just like any system, a negative side to it too, I think.
And I think that comes down to being able to use the cards that we have to better ourselves. And everything has a negative. Absolutely everything in our life. If there's a positive, there's a negative. It's a pendulum swing. That's why you experience highs and lows, right? So if we can understand that what we have is the cards that we have, social media is a thing. It's not going anywhere. Like all of these things, how can we use that for good? And if we can use that lens, it's like, okay, of course it's bad for you because you just follow all of these people that are rotting your brain and then you actually don't even have any clarity when you're outside of your screen doom scrolling because of what you're consuming. So it's like, how can we use the cards that we've been dealt and the life and the environment that we're in to better ourselves?
Do you think, I guess the question is, do you believe in God? But like, do you believe that there's someone who gives us the cards? As in, like, there's a creator or there's something, or like the universe, or do you think it just happens?
I strip it back a bit more simple. I'm not religious, but I feel like, all right, so if you've been following along, you would know that I just competed in the High Rocks competition in Melbourne, and one of the supplements I've been taking religiously before that competition and still to this day is the Muscle Protein Complex by Melrose Future Labs. This blend is like no other protein powder you have ever seen. It has 25 grams of protein per serving, including 15 grams of body balance collagen peptides, which help keep your muscles strong and lean. But these aren't just any collagen peptides. These are clinically tested to support lean muscle mass, which is exactly what you need for high intensity workouts, just like High Rocks. But the thing about this blend that absolutely blows my mind is an ingredient in it called calcium HMB. Calcium HMB is shown to retain muscle mass even when your training load decreases. If you're serious about training and recovery, you can find the Muscle Protein Complex by Melrose Future Lab at your local Chemist Warehouse today. Let's get right back to the show. The more you build a beautiful garden, the butterflies will come to you. And it's as simple as that in my lens. I'm not closed off to religion. And the reason for that is because you look at all of the most successful people in the world and they all have some sort of relationship to a God. It's crazy. Try and find someone that's really big, massive name that doesn't have a relationship with God. So for me, I wasn't brought up in a religious family and there was no religion in my home. But it would be stupid for me to look and shut it all down entirely because of how successful so many people are that all have relationships with it. So I'm acknowledging that. But for me, at this phase of my life, I'm in a state where I'm trying to strip it right back to first principles. And I know if I be a nice person and I focus on me and level up myself and build this garden that is attractive, the butterflies will come. And a big lesson that I've learned this year is just to stop chasing. And the more I chase, the less I receive. And if I just focus on me, not feel like I need anything, not put anything on a pedestal, bring it all down to my level, the more things flow into my life and the more I start to receive. And a lot of people that look to things that are higher and stuff is they're probably in a low, vulnerable state and they're looking for someone to help them pull them out of that. Yeah. And I've just had this lens of just taking ownership and looking within and just trying my best to be a nice person and an attractive person.
I love it. Love it. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that lens?
Mate, I've thought about this a lot, probably way too much, because you know, and I almost love questions that you're never going to find the answer to. Like, you can create an answer. You can, if you want, and I'm almost envious of those people that like believe it with all their heart, because you know how easy that is. You know how easy it is just to believe in a God and go, that's it, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
You know, like, and now I'm just like, I don't know, and I never will know, and I know that. But
Comes
it's like
back down to that simpler life.
Simple life. But I'm like, I also like, I think I subscribe probably more so to like the universe, but then also as well, I think humans have a capacity we are narcissistic as a race, in the sense of like we are, and I think we are no more important than like a plant. We're no more important than the sea, the ocean. And I think we just believe that we are like, maybe because we can change our environment and we can manipulate things and like, you know, use tools to our advantage. Like, I don't know. I think we are no more important than that. But also as well, I love, from a young age, I've always loved to climb things like trees, or like I love to be at a high vantage point. And I think what I feel in those moments is like, from where I stand, I'm so small and insignificant, and I'm like, I feel so meaningless. But also from where I stand, I'm the center of the universe, right? And it's like a really nice conflicting thing of like, this means everything, but this means nothing, all at the same time. And I really like those feelings.
When you feel like you are insignificant and small, does that rub off on you negatively? Does that feel bad? Or do you like this balance of being able to feel on top of the world and also down? Does it kind of bring everything together? Or?
Yeah, I've always tried to keep my 2 feet on the ground, and I don't always live to that. There's definitely times that I get conceited or arrogant, or for sure, like I start believing it. I'm like, oh, fuck, that feels good. But
we're human.
Yeah, we're human. But I very much just try and stay grounded and just realize that like one wrong decision I could be homeless on the side of the street, you know, like, and my brother was an addict, and I know that there's darkness in my body that is there and like stagnant at times, and just like, I've tried to get rid of it for ages, and it's just like, it's still there. So I don't know. I kind of like that ability to just realize that I'm meaningless while also feeling like I could be the most influential person in the whole entire world at the same time. That's in my body. I like that. It just balances me. I think, yeah.
Do you believe it's up to you?
Yeah. I think also as well, like, there is an element of like, there's something happening that I think humans don't always have capacity to, but I think for the most part, it's up to us. Like, no one's coming to save you. Like, you got to do the work. You've got to show up. You've got to be the one to be kind to yourself. It's not the government's fault. It's our reality. Probably not for kids. I have empathy and compassion for kids, because you can't choose your environment. You can't choose this. But I think when you start getting into your 20s and 30s, like, I think it's up to us. Yeah, no one's coming. And you can complain as much as you want, but it will continuously get you to the same destination, and that's nowhere. Yeah.
I resonate with that a lot. You mentioned the difference between, well, one of the big differences between the Tokyo Olympics and the Paris Olympics was you had a lot more fame. It built up a lot since then. And that might have had its own effects, and it might have played a role. What has been your relationship with yourself, and what has been the challenges with growing an audience on social media? And in person and everything. You're doing a lot of TV, being in Olympics, and
it's for the most part, it's good, mate. Like, I don't want to, like, you know, I think there's some people like, I remember I was watching, it was the TikTok Awards or something like that, and they were like, what's it like being an influencer? And like, it's real hard. I'm like, I don't know. I haven't found that. I haven't found that at all. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm pretty happy for the most part. And of course, it's got its own troubles. Like there's times that I would post something and you're never going to please everyone. So then you start feeling like, sometimes you start self-censoring because you're like, fuck, I don't want to, like, you know? So like I think the thing that I've really liked about myself, and the reason why I guess I've had some element of success, is like, I'm very impulsive. So impulsive. Like, I'll have a thought, and I think my heart is mostly in the right place, and I'll have a thought, or like, and it's impulsive behavior, and it's just like, that's what made me. And then there's times where, like, when you start building a bit more of an audience and knowing that there's like repercussions if you do something wrong, or like, you know, like, then you start self-censoring. And then I think there was a period of time where I lost my essence, and I lost, because you start caring way too much about what people think. But I feel like probably over the last 12 months, I feel like, and I'm not there all the time. There's times where you're like, in darkness and you like want people's acceptance and approval. But for the most part, I think I don't know, something bad could come out about me and I would own it. Like I would own it. I'd just be like, oh, but yeah, absolutely. At the time, that's what I was doing. And I know that my heart is good. And I think most people are. Like if you really delved into people and you could think about the most disgusting people you think about in society, or like, you know, these people who vote for a certain person, like if you really delved into them, they care about very similar things to you. They want their family, their friends and themselves to be happy, healthy and well off. Like it's pretty simple. Yeah. And I think most people just, I know, misunderstood. Yeah. And I think I'm just trying my best to find myself again. And I lost it throughout the fame and through like, yeah, I don't know. And I think what made me get to that was the authenticity and the realness and the impulsive behavior and my essence. And I feel like I lost it.
For sure. And after the recent Olympics, you did that post that went quite viral after, where you just raw, authentic. You're talking about you eating the cookie and you had a realization, which was really cool. But one of the lines you said at the start was, you've become your own friend in the journey. That you repeated it a few times and you could tell that meant something for you. Has it been a challenge being that, and then, you know, that relationship with yourself growing up and up until that point or even till now?
Yeah, mate, I was just got tingles. Yeah, that was, I think it's just like the best thing. And it's what we spoke about a few times on this, like just like setting a massive goal and like throughout the journey, collecting the evidence that, you know, you're not a sack of shit, or like, you know, like I think I very much felt like, let's think about a childhood, right? My childhood, there would be moments where I would feel like I was being authentically myself, and then you get shamed, right? And you're like, oh, let's not do that again because you want to be accepted, right? You're vulnerable when you're young. And then you'd be yourself at another point and then you get shamed again. So then you just like start suppressing yourself more and more and more. And I think it sort of fed something in me that I'm just like, if people find out who you are, then, you know, like you're a nobody. And then in that, I started trashing myself, going like, yeah, you suck, or like, you're not good at sport, or you're not this, you're not that, and own biggest critic. And then through the journey of like just training really hard and like facing my fears of like going into a boxing fight against like a monster, you know, like a beast who's going to rip my head off and still hold your own. Like there's evidence right there that you're not as bad as you think you are, right? And I think eventually through the process, it took fucking years. Like it took such a long time, but like I genuinely feel like I've got my own back, you know? And I think there was like a moment, like I went through some pretty hectic stuff in 2023. And there was a moment where I was doing a breathwork experience and people talk about being bird's eye view of themselves or having these moments. And I'm like, fuck, they're all full of shit. Like I've never had that. And I actually had one of those moments. And I was bird's eye view to myself in that room. And I was holding my younger self. I was a young kid and I just thought it was my younger self. And it's like, I finally got myself, and that was in 2023. That was before Paris. But I felt like there was just like a moment where I'm like, that is the journey that most of us should be on. It's just like parenting ourselves, or like, you know, like those moments in our life that we feel sad or inferior or not good enough. Like, you know, as an adult, owning that and having space for that young kid and holding him tight and just being like, you can show up however you want and I've got your back. And I feel like I got that in 2023. And then obviously the failure in 2024 just like sort of reinforced that, hey, I've got my own back and I'll get through this and you'll be fine. I've got you. Yeah.
Do you think that's one of the main things that defines a good friend, is having your back?
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember there's moments in my life where it's like those people who pull you up when you're like doing something that's like out of character or something like that, they still have you back, but they pull you up. And I think they're real friends. Like I remember, I'll never forget, there was the guy we spoke about before around like he lives this beautiful life. Like he's just happy in Lilydale. And like I said to him that I didn't want to do something. And then I went up to him later in the night and I asked him to do it. And he's like, no. He's like, fuck off. He's like, I know you don't want to do it. And I was like, oh, come on, man. Like, oh, don't be a dog. Like, and then I woke up in the morning. I was like, that's a true friend. That's a true friend. He wants the best for me. And like, I would have had such a good time with him, but he wants what's best for me. I'm like, that is a true friend. And I think those people who can like have your back and want more for you and like see you succeed and clap, or you see your friend doing well and you're like, fuck yeah. Like you get that feeling. That's a pure friend. And there's only like a handful, I think, that we can manage at a time. But there's definitely those people in my life that I think we've just got each other's back and we're just tapping each other going, keep going, brother. You got this. And I hope you've got that in your life.
it's the most powerful. I think just having that, it doesn't even, you just need one a lot of the time. Like you just got that one mate. There's a video, which my best mates, we send back and forth to each other every now and then whenever it pops up on our feed. But it's just that one where it's like that one friend that pushes you, and it's like the boxing and like you're like moving at the same time and like everything like that. It's just like you sometimes just need someone that believes in you so much, because it can get lonely, it can get tough, and there's days where you don't believe in you. And that's when you need to lean on that guy.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And I think there's many people, like, or maybe not many people, but you sort of feel like, and maybe people are just so focused on what's going on in their life, they've got their own stresses, but there's times where I feel like I've succeeded and I know people trying to drag it down a little bit, or like I've definitely been in environments where I'm like, I've had like a big job come through and I'm fucking stoked, but then I don't want to tell them because I don't want them to, like take it personally, or like that, like I hate that. I want to be able to tell my successes and be proud of that, right? I've worked really hard for 20 years, right? But then just being conscious of like, there is some people in your life who like, and it's like their own stuff, I know, and don't ever take it personally. It's like, it's not about you. It's just like they're feeling inferior in themselves. But I've definitely got those people who just like lift me up and boost me and support me and encourage me. And it's been really nice to sort of realize that. Yeah.
But then obviously that relationship with yourself, that, trying to be your own friend, like you said there, it's like, I feel like I've become my own friend in that journey. It's not always been the case. And that's kind of when that self-sabotage would come in, where you can like, you like what you're doing, you've worked so hard to get something, and you would think that at that moment when you achieve that success, you feel proud about yourself, but actually you kind of just want to tear it all down and start again. You mentioned there was a relationship with self-sabotage that you've had in your life.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, mate, I wrote a poll about this, but we were talking about it before, and I'm gonna it's so fascinating. So self-suffering, self-sabotage, I don't understand it. It's like my inner self craves it. Pain, hardship, adversity. It's like it's searching for that thing to show me I'm alive. My heart is beating. I feel it when I lose at the casino. I feel it when I'm struggling to make weight. I feel it when my heart breaks. I feel it when I'm struggling for money. Am I addicted to the cortisol? Is this a self-fulfilling prophecy? Because I know the growth, the pain, the struggle, the desperation I feel to get back to stability, to get back to normality after adversity. And I just feel there's definitely moments in my life where it's like I love the process of building this massive Jenga tower and just like it's higher than I ever thought I possibly could. And then there's something inside of me that just wants to smash it and just start from scratch again. And just that process of it is quite beautiful. I'm trying my best to like find out how to like continuously build reinforcements to make sure you don't have to knock it down. You can just build off where you are, right? You don't have to go back down further so you can go higher. But I haven't worked it out yet. It's a puzzle piece, and I'm just trying to figure out like, how do you get motivation, get hunger, get this want, this desperation to feel, if you don't knock down your Jenga tower. Yeah.
How does reading that poll make you feel?
Well, first of all, I hate reading. So like I hate reading out loud. One of my uncomfortable challenges was public reading. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's an interesting feeling. I think I can just connect to it. I can connect to it. I can relate to it. And I want to be better. I want to realize people often say things on social media or online or like, and you're like, fuck, like how? Like it sounds good. It sounds really good in theory, but like, I think for me, the only way I've learned it is just actually being in the arena and just learning it. Yeah. So I think I've just got to learn this, right? You can mental masturbate and have all these thoughts but just the only way I've got to learn it is just like actioning something and just going like, stick to this. And if it doesn't work, change it and see what happens then. Yeah. So I think I'm just in that process now of like, maybe I don't need to knock down my Jenga tower. Maybe I can just build off this one, and you might lose a bit of motivation, but then try and find some new motivation. I don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know.
It's like this little drive comes into you. you built something up and you've got this like little voice in the back of your head going, let's fucking knock it down and do it all over again.
It just makes life like enjoyable as well. Because how good is it to build a fucking big Jenga tower?
Yeah.
But I do think, and obviously the higher a Jenga tower goes, like the harder it is, there's no reinforcements. Like, so like the harder it is to like, it starts moving in the wind or like, you know, it gets more vulnerable. And I do think that. I think the most successful people, the higher their tower is, it's like, man, you need some big reinforcements. You need a big, strong circle. You need people who like, you know, are there to like hold the tower a little bit when things are hard, you know? So I don't know. I think I'm just in that I'm only young, man, 27. So I've still got plenty of time. Like this is the time to fuck up. If you're going to fuck up now before you have kids.
We're going to get right back to the episode in just 1 minute, but I need to tell you about this thing that is on my wrist called a Whoop, the ultimate health and fitness tracker. If you've not seen this thing already, you are probably living under a rock because it is the #1 health and fitness tracker. It's a game changer for me and millions of people all around the world when it comes to achieving your health and fitness goals. One of the main things I love about the Whoop is the sleep coach. Whoop tracks my sleep and it gives me a score based on how well I've performed, and it also gives me all the other metrics like how much deep, how much REM sleep I got, how many times I woke up throughout the night. And then I can use all of those metrics to then tell me how I need to recover so that then I'm ready to attack the next day's activities. I love this thing. It's a game changer, and the only time it leaves my wrist is when I'm changing the color because they have so many awesome bands. If you want to try out Whoop for yourself, you can go to the link in the description or the show notes below, or go to join.whoop.com/Chris, and you'll get 1 month completely free, and they'll send you a band to try for yourself. And if you do not love it, you can send it back risk-free. Once again, go to the link in the description or the show notes below, or go to join.whoop.com/Chris, and you'll get 1 month completely free. Let's get right back to the episode. When you look at the biggest Jenga towers that you've built, do you think, has any of them, maybe a better question to ask, has any of them, the start of building that tower, been when your heart's been broken?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think to this day, like I've failed in sport. I've had family issues. I've, you know, like had moments outside of a relationship that have been really hard. And I would still say that heartbreak is the most painful thing you can feel. Yeah. Yeah. I don't believe in star signs, but I guess there is an element of belief if I'm going to say it on a podcast, right? But like I'm a Cancer, so I'm quite emotional, and I feel like I feel things quite hard, and I love that. I love feeling the highs and lows of life. But like, man, breakups or heartbreak or lose. It's like a weird thing to like have someone just so connected to you and be so connected to them and just like share life with them and then not be there. Yeah, that's a really like fucked up feeling. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks.
Do you think I agree, firstly. I think heartbreak shapes a lot of men because it brings them to that low, and that's when they start to build, right? It's like even if it's not been in a self-sabotage way, they've been put in a low because they've lost that person. And when you're in that state, do you feel like that self-sabotage kicks in even more, and that self-doubt and like the lack of confidence creeps in? Do you think all of those things creep in when you're in those vulnerable states?
Yeah, I think so. And I think it's, I think there's almost like, so I've thought of this a lot. So addiction runs in my family, and I've always been super fascinated by like identifiable addicts, like drug addicts, or sometimes you see alcoholics, and I think there's something almost inside of self that's like trying to blow their life up as a cry for help, like to hit rock bottom. Like I'm so desperate. I don't know how to ask for help, but there's something in them that's like, you know, and I've definitely felt that when I've gone through heartbreak. Like there's something inside of me that just like is feeling so flat and wants to hit rock bottom because like I need this, like, it's like a crying for help from the universe or from someone else or from, you know, but like when I hit rock bottom, usually for me, I realize that no one's coming. There's always people there. I don't want to say that because there's always people who have my back, which is really nice. But like, it has to be up to us.
You have that self-talk where it's like, nah, no one is coming.
Yeah, but it has to be self-driven.
It has to be.
It has to be because you have to want change.
It's like they're going to support you, but they're not going to do the work.
Yes.
And the work is what you need to do.
Yes.
And the hard thing is sometimes when you're in that mud, you can't see how to get out of the mud. but you've still got to have the courage to take the steps.
Yeah.
And that's the fucked part.
Yeah. And that's like, but I always think like my hardest times in my life, you zoom out far enough, they're the best things to ever happen to you.
Yeah.
You just got to zoom out far enough.
Yeah. But also, do you think it gives you confidence that you can overcome the hard time again?
Yeah.
Because like when you do something and you get in a low and you get from A to B, I'm not as scared of getting put in that low again because I know I'll be able to make it out. I've done it time and time again.
Completely agree.
So you're stacking up this confidence, which makes you more willing to take more risks in your life. It makes you more willing to do things for you because you're not as scared of the failure.
That's why I think uncomfortable, like for me, the uncomfortable challenge has been so good. Like it's like anyone can feel it. You do a hard training session, you know, like you do something that's like physically quite hard, or even do something that's emotionally quite hard, or like do a dance class. You know, for most people, that's quite uncomfortable. Like it's like you feel judgment, you feel fear, you don't want to do it. You think everyone else here can dance, I can't dance. And that feeling afterwards, like you've built resilience inside self, you've overcome a couple of voices, and you feel a little bit stronger. You feel a little bit more empowered. It's a fucking great feeling. That's why from a young age, I've loved just sending it in a session and like feeling like I want to give up, or like, you know, the ego comes online and goes like, nah, that's enough for today. You've done really well, but that's enough. It starts getting real creative. It starts being more positive too. It starts going like, nah, you can call it quits now, mate. You've done heaps, right? And it's like, no, push through that. Fuck that guy, you know?
You just called it the ego. I call it the devil sometimes because I'm like doing a dead hang and I'm fucked and it's my third rep and I said I was going to do 5 reps, but like my hands are ripping up and I go like, fundamentally this is doing more harm than good. However, if I don't do the 5 reps, I've let the demons in and that's going to play on my mind that I quit at 3. And I look at these people and I'm sure you would feel the same when you're in a hard time sometimes and you're like fucking good, push through. Like you're not leaving this. Like if you only do 3 instead of 4 or 5, like that's going to eat away at you.
Yeah. And that I don't know, mate, I've definitely done it for sure. Like I would happily admit it. There's been times where the demons have won, you know, or the ego's won and I've given in. And that feeling, say you're doing a dead hang and you drop off and you're like instantly you're like, you fucking piece of shit.
Yeah.
It's like you start boom, trashing yourself. It's instant. It's like you say you're going to do 10K and you pull out at 8. Oh, that feel, as soon as you stop, that feeling is like, oh, and then you start beating yourself up all day.
Even if the watch is wrong and you thought you did 10, you're still beating yourself up.
It's a weird thing, but like I think for me, it's just like realizing that like I have those thoughts even still now. Like I don't think you ever lose the thing inside yourself going like, mate, give it in, pull up. That's enough. You're doing too much. Your hands are hurting. Like there's like I'm never going to silence that voice, but it's just like that good wolf, bad wolf, whichever wolf is the loudest, the one you feed the most. And there's times where that devil is fucking loud.
So loud.
Yeah.
Do you think that we've spoken a lot about, obviously, I wanted this conversation to be less of like you've been on so many shows. I want it to be less of like some chronological order telling your story because I know a lot of people listening might already know that. And so that's why I wanted to speak about a few different ideologies and stuff. But we've spoken about some challenges that you've had and a few different things. But would you say the biggest challenge in your life now is finding that thing for you? Or do you think there's something greater in your life now? What would you say your biggest challenge would be?
Yeah, I think it's so hard because it's so present, but probably the direction. Like breaking away from a bit of an identity crisis, I guess. Probably that's the most present. But I think just I don't know, I think we all have fear, we all have doubts, and I have different fears in different areas of my life. But I think I just like there's a fear of like ending up back where I was, or like, you know, like I think, and I'm grateful that I have that. It's really nice, like to just go like, that's a fear, let's push through that, let's work through it. But I think there is, like my biggest challenge is just like realizing that there's just as much darkness as there is light in my body, and just like never letting that thing win. Yeah. And it's sometimes it does, but yeah, just winning that battle more often than not.
Why do you think you have that fear? Where do you think it stems from?
I think it's, like limiting beliefs. Yeah. And I hope one day I can move through it, and I think I will. But yeah, I think it's just like limiting beliefs of just, I don't know, just realizing at times that like, how the fuck did like, there's like a little boy who like thinks he's no different than anyone else. And, You know, I'm like a scared, scrawny kid from Lilydale who was the youngest of 3 boys. I was like scared. Like I remember all that. Like it's still me. Like that was me. And it's just like fearing that you may have collected all this evidence that you're not that anymore, but it's like there's still something inside of me that's just like, oh, that's still in there. You don't lose it, and you don't lose the capacity to win an Olympic bronze medal. Like they're both in my body at the same time. Yeah.
It's a powerful polarity where you just go, coming back into that thing where you can feel belittled and tiny or feel like on top of the world, having this balance of like one time you're feeling that, next minute you're feeling that, and they're so extremes.
Yeah, I remember I wrote another poem about this. It was like, I feel in me, I don't remember the full poem. It was like, I feel in me the most greedy. I feel in me the most generous. I feel in me the most happy. I feel in me the most sad. Just like all polarities inside myself. And it's like, while all of these aren't me completely, there's a piece of me in all of them. You know, like I don't attach myself to being a greedy guy, or I don't attach myself to being a generous guy. Like it's like they're all parts of me, and it's just like I don't know exactly what I am, but I'm like they're all there, and they're all just navigating. And I think I'm just trying my best to find who I am. Right,
just coming to terms with all the feelings and feeling them in their entirety when you're feeling them, in a sense.
I've almost like I wouldn't self-diagnose myself, but like I've definitely thought at times like there's like split personality. Like I attach myself to like when I'm in the conqueror mindset, like I've got to conquer the world, or when I'm in the peace, love, and mung bean, like let's be a hippie, or when I'm in like the, you know, like selfish, self-centered, egotistical, like these are all like, I feel like they're like different characters inside myself, and I'm just trying to like manage them at times. It's it's like a hard thing to like know exactly who the fuck is Harry Garside. Like who the fuck am I? Like I don't know sometimes. Yeah, I don't know.
And that can be hard. Do you think the breath work unlocks a lot of that for you?
Yeah, that's why I'm technically a qualified instructor. I was saying to you before the podcast, I would never use it, I don't think. But I've genuinely enjoyed it. I think it's quite amazing that your breath is at your fingertips and you can feel things, you can experience things, you can build up energy, you can also feel like relaxed and comfy and then also have all these like weird realizations, right? This is all just from our breath. It's quite amazing. Yeah.
It's crazy. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we wrapped up the show?
No, I've loved it. No, I think we have obviously very similar minds. Yeah. And I always love like, I think sometimes like I think for myself I've been misunderstood or something like that, but I've got to a point where I'm trying my best not to like tell people how to live their life. I think just be deeply curious about self and about the world. And I think curiosity will cure most of us. Yeah.
Let the curiosity steer the ship. I love that. On my phone, I literally have, I'm a curious educator. It's my purpose statement. Nice. Where it's like, I'm really curious and I love to educate. But I want to commend you. I just think it's so inspiring. It's so cool. I love being able to see people like go after such great feats. That's why you talk about the Ned Brockman thing, where it's like people can come across what he's doing. I've never heard of his name and be engaged, have been following since the start and be just as engaged. What he's doing is so extraordinary, and there's inspiration that I don't see myself going inspired by that in a sense of I want to do that, but I'm inspired by the fact that it's possible. And so it reminds me that when my knees are hurting and I'm 15 Ks into a 20K run, like I can do the extra 5K. I don't need to walk. Yeah. It reminds me of that. And I like to apply that lens, and the same stuff with you when I see just the crazy things and the drive from such a young age. It's really inspiring and really cool. So hopefully you can keep on doing amazing things, and I'm sure you will, I've no doubt. Yeah, thank you. One last thing on Ned. I remember having this thought, and I saw it not long before. It's like a quote. It's like, the opposite to depression is expression. I think what Ned Brockman's doing and why it's so inspiring and motivating is like it's the ultimate form of self-expression. Find that thing that makes you feel more yourself, right? And it's like that vehicle where you can, and maybe this is like podcasting or like the educator, you know, where you feel most yourself. It's like lighting your flame off. Like, fuck, how good is it? Yeah, dude, we need to have another one of these at some point. We're about stuff. I wanted to talk about your book. I wanted to talk about heaps of different stuff, but it's been too good, mate. There's plenty of time. So I appreciate you, man. It's been great. Legend, mate. Thank you. If you guys have made it to the end, I'll leave all of Harry's details in the show notes and the description below. Go and read his book. It's called The Good Fight. We didn't talk about that, but go and check it out. It's a great book. I'm going to actually read that as well, to be honest. I've not read it. I'm going to give your book a little read, because what inspired me was you said that the book was actually quite a daunting thing to do, and then you were putting it off, and then you started doing it, and then you got to the end and you're like, that won't be my last.
Yeah, it was quite therapeutic. It was nice.
I'm in that stage now where I'm putting off doing the writing of the book, but I know that's what I want to do, and that's what I want to do. And that's like, I know I will enjoy it once I get it. And throwing in poems and being poetic in that sense is really inspiring to me. So being able to see you do that and include poems in the book's quite inspiring. So I'll leave all of Harry's details in the show notes in the description below, so you can go and check it out. And if you have made it to the end and you enjoyed the show, take a little screenshot of this and post on your story and let us know that you enjoyed the show, because it helps the show grow and it helps us keep getting amazing guests just like Harry back on the show, so we can keep on growing together. I'm going to sign out for this week, but I'll see you next week.